Hi, I'm Ant from Radibush. I'm creating a game called Lighthaze World. The game is a cozy puzzle game where the hero is suffers from anxiety and goes into a mall, and it makes his life a whole lot different. So he has to solve out how to get out of there. Okay, so the game first started as a horror game.
Okay.
I like making puzzles, and we decided we'll make a horror game, and that would have like all these puzzles in the game, and it would be really easy to do that kind of thing. But it turned out that the jump scares in horror games are a lot harder than we thought they would be. So then it shifted to just a puzzle game. Um, and that's why we changed this story and stuff and tried to make something that we could actually make, because horror games you really have to have good graphics and things like that to make the jump scares and all that work a bit better. So
Yeah,
that was
like the effects that you have to put in the game to make it more, let's say, I'm not saying I don't want to say realistic, but more viewable.
yeah. And that was a challenge. Like, there's only me working on the game, and then I've got another guy that does art, and he can only work part time on the game. And then I got another guy, and he's can only work a little bit on the game, and he's doing music. So I'm doing a fair chunk of the game, and so trying to achieve that just on the team size that we have was just impossible. So
Hmm.
we went with something we could make.
Hmm.
And sorry, go.
Did the project start? Did you start the project alone, or you started it with someone else, as you were mentioning before?
We always started together. We one day, so we were making this horror game, and one day, he's my friend, and he came around to my house, and we were just playing. I think it was Sackboy's Adventure. It just came out on PlayStation
Hmm.
5 at the time, and we were playing that, and we're like, "This game is so fun! Like, it's just a fun game." It like if no one's played it, it's very similar to Astrobot. Yeah, Astrobot. It's very similar to that kind of thing, but probably that whole platforming adventure type of thing that we
Yeah.
just enjoyed. And we're like, well, why don't we just take our game and make it more of an adventure game and less of a horror game, and get some we took all the horror out of it and made it puzzle platformer, and that's how we got started. I think working by yourself is really, really hard,
Yeah.
and that it's because you don't know what all the answers are. So you go, oh, I'm going to make a platforming game, I'm going to make it to look like this, and then you start making that, and then it looks terrible or it doesn't work, and you haven't like having just one person. You don't want, like, if you got 10 people, it's even harder. But if you just got one or two people that have got the same idea, you can bounce ideas off each other. So you can go, oh, do you think this looks good or this looks good? And then you can make quicker decisions, and that can help you decide how you want to proceed in making the game. Oh, 100%. That I think there's a lot of indie devs, and they start off and I'm going to make World of Warcraft, or I'm going to make some
Yeah,
ridiculously large
exactly.
game that you can't achieve. It's unachievable for one person. I mean, even everyone goes, "Oh, Minecraft was made by one guy," and it was, but it was never a multiplayer. It's not the Minecraft we know to get day. That he got some money, he got more people to work on the game, and it evolved into the Minecraft we have today. The
Yeah.
original game was just you walk around a room and put some blocks down, and that pick them up and do what you want with them. But that was the original story, like, idea for it.
Yeah, but
So
that's
you got to
probably
start
one in a
small.
million. So,
Oh, yeah, but he still started as a small idea. That's what I was saying. It was a small idea, and then it grew into a bigger idea. And that's what I think. There's a lot of indie games that you can see that start off just as a small idea, and and then as they get some more money, they can grow the game if they want to, or they can do a second project, which was their better idea. I always tell indie developers, start small, make the game smaller, make the idea less, and finish that game. That's more important than anything else.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
Yeah.
the biggest difficulty is to finish a game for an
Mhm.
indie game dev, because a lot of people that start game developing, they start with this great idea. They start making the game, but they never. Most of them don't finish it because they just recognize that they probably wanted to make a big game, a too big project for a small group of people or a lonely person.
Mhm. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, so I don't know. I've enjoyed having a smallish team and having that nice control over. Like we can still make decisions, and we don't have to go through 100 people to work out what we're going to do. And
Okay.
it's good. It's a good size.
Yeah. But are there some points where you think, okay, probably um, for this we maybe need another person, uh, um, an extra person, for instance. I'm just making an example. A game developer doesn't mean that you have to be good to make music or sounds. So maybe at that point you think, oh, we need someone else for the music, or we need someone else for the UI. Also, making the puzzles themselves, that's actually not easy. You need to have some creativity in it. So did you ever had this kind of feeling?
Yeah, well, that's why we do have a guy making music for us now. Because when we did start, there was the two of us,
Hmm.
and then after about probably about a year or year and a half, we decided that we couldn't do the music. That's one job we couldn't do. So we started looking around for another guy to help us with the music, or God, whichever. But we were just wanted a different person to help us with music. Um, and I do agree that you do have to. This is where it gets tricky, however, as well, because like a lot of indie devs go, oh, I want to get someone to help me do the marketing. Like marketing's a big thing that indie developers struggle with,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
and they go, well, I'll get someone in to help me with the marketing, and they pay someone a lot of money or not even that much money, and they get nothing from it. It-
Yeah.
the the marketing is a whole different aspect, but sometimes you can't get people to help you, and you just have to get more creative in the way that you do things.
Yeah, and do it by yourself in some aspects. Yeah,
Mm,
that's true.
yeah. So the demo was a prequel to the game. This is one thing in puzzle games that you can probably it can be a bit confusing or a bit hard to do a demo because we decided to make its own separate game for the demo, which means more work and things like that. But the demo, we wanted to show off all the different kinds of puzzles in a really small section of space. So that's why we made the
Hmm.
demo like that. The full game is about 90% complete and it should be out this year. It is um, about probably 6 to 7 hours long, if you
Oh,
can
that's
believe.
long enough.
It,
That's
it,
long
it's
enough.
a it's
Yeah.
a very long game. It's I think 9 levels with about 30 caves to explore. So
Oh, that's a
there's
lot.
there's there's a big. It's a quite
Yeah.
a big game that people probably don't understand the size of it.
And it
And so
probably
it's
took you
taken
a
a
lot
little
of
bit long.
effort to make a 6, 7 hour
Yeah,
game. So you also
yeah.
have to consider the fact that you already know the puzzle. So maybe you are considering 6, 7 hours knowing the puzzles. But
I
imagine
could
a
run
gamer that
through it.
A game
I
that
could
has
run through the
started from
game
the
in about
beginning.
3 hours, so that's why I double it.
Ah, okay, okay.
Oh,
You
oh,
already thought about
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so do you already know when the game is gonna be ready? Do you already have a launching, let's say month? I'm not saying day. Is it gonna be
Uh,
2025? So this year?
yes. Yes. We've got, so in 2 weekends' time, there's a convention in my hometown of Melbourne, in Australia. In case you'd missed the accent,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got a reasonable sized convention. It'll be about 30,000 people or something. So we're going to
Okay.
get people to test the game, um, and give it a, try and figure out some, if we've got it all working how we want it to work, and then we've got another convention in America in, later this year in May, and then hopefully after that we'll get it released. The thing I haven't decided yet, and you might be able to help me with this, is do we release the game as an early access game on Steam because, and we use it as a time where we give it to people at a reduced rate and they can play the game for a little bit of time and give us some feedback on if there's any bugs for like a month before we actually launch the game.
Uh,
That's
I
yeah,
think
that's what we're considering.
it depends how confident you are about the game you're making. So if you're really confident about the game you're making and you already have a group of testers, uh, you don't need an early access. Um, mm, if you're not sure about some levels, some topics, some puzzles, then you haven't already tested it enough. Then probably, yeah, an early access could be a good thing. I'm not sure about that actually. Or another strategy that a lot of game companies use, they give an early access to just a few people, maybe gamers or streamers, so they can try out the game and just show it to the people, but to their fans. But it becomes the same problem if you're not confident about the game. Then you mm, what what are you going to expect from the streamers? The streamers could also say, okay, the game is not good enough, or I don't like the
Mm.
game. So if you're ready to have also, I'm not saying bad opinions, but not good opinions, then you can do everything. You can launch the game without an early access. That's my opinion, obviously.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're working at. Like, how do we get to launch? We got the game at about 90% complete now, and we're testing lots of things, and we're getting close to where it should be. Very, people shouldn't find bugs,
Hmm.
but the thing that I also find with these games is, and this is from conventions, you get one in probably every 100 people that come and play the game, and all they're looking to do is break your game just to show you that they found a bug.
Ah,
They
okay,
don't.
okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
they don't care for your game. They don't love your game. They just want to prove to you that your game isn't working, and it can be a bit demoralizing where you think, "Ah, seriously, you didn't want to enjoy my game. You wanted to break my game." That's all. So they'll do silly things in the game just to see. I mean, they're really good for testing, but
yeah.
how much do you have to compensate for these people that are just trying to break your game, you know?
The dark side of conventions. I didn't know that
Yeah.
actually. So
Yeah,
probably
there's
the Steam users are different. So I think
mm,
Steam users are real gamers, so they appreciate games as they are. And also, Steam is a good platform for indie developers.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about the conventions result. I would only focus on the Steam result. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we had a guy the other, I think about a month ago now, and there was there's a puzzle in this level, and you go through these spikes, and when you get to the other side, and you've got to kick one box, and you can only kick it one direction, and then that will activate so the electricity. Now, I never tested it. If you kick the box the other way, it breaks the puzzle, it breaks the game.
ah, okay.
But yeah, and I'm like, but why would you do that? It clearly you've got to get the power from this side to that side. So and it's kind of laid out there on a platter for you. It's super easy to do. You've just got to walk up to it, kick it. To actually kick it the wrong way, you've got to kind of do all these um, jump through bits that you shouldn't jump through and try and get through the other side of the thing. It's not easy to break it, but people do just to kind of see what they can do, and it can
Yeah.
be
Nah.
you're like, oh, how do I make it so all these people can't do all these broken things? Just
But
like they're trying to break it.
uh, same.
Well, a lot of the time we've been to a lot of conventions now, and i- if I could recommend one thing to indie developers after making their game really short, go to a lot of conventions and don't even like talk to the people, say hello, whatever, but don't tell them how to play your game. Just sit there and watch 100 people play your game that you don't know, like, and see what they do. It's the most fascinating thing. You learn so much about what people are going to try and do in your game, and you can't even anticipate half of the things they're going to do. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what we've learnt from conventions.
So
All
conventions are a plus for you.
100%. They can be expensive, but they're also extremely addictive because you go to them and people come up to you and you're almost like a rock star at these conventions. Like you feel really good about yourself because a lot of people are
Okay.
like, oh, we love your game. So you get a lot of real good feedback at these conventions. There's not very many negative people there. Most people are quite positive. But then the on the plus side, there's all just seeing how people interact with your games. Because I mean, you could give the game to your friend to play the game, and your friend's gonna be nice about it. Then they're not normally too rough, and they'll
Yeah, that's
figure
true.
you know what I mean, they're quite kind to you. These people have nothing, they owe you nothing. You owe them more than they owe you because you're trying to get them to like your game. So then you see them jumping around, and why are you jumping off this platform? It's not a thing. Oh, I just want to see what happens. The amount of times I've seen people do stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, so I have to account for all these things that people are going to do, and I've learnt so much from the way other people interact with my game. It's crazy.
So,
Um,
is it is the convention on your top list, or do you think probably another way of marketing is more important? Because
I
for
wouldn't
me,
say
convention
yeah,
is a kind of marketing for the game.
uh, yeah, it is kind of a marketing thing, but I think it's probably for me, marketing's not just about um, getting people to wishlist the game. That's not just like a lot of indie developers go, okay, I'm going to market my game. I want people to I'm going to measure that by how many wishlists I have. Um, but that's not really all of marketing. If you wanted to put all of marketing into a strategy, it's a little bit different to that. So you go to the conventions, and number one, you're going to see what types of people are attracted to your game. If you see, I mean, you can see demographics of, like, there might be older people, they might be younger people, they
Hmm.
might be women, they might be men, they might be, you can see what, so then that's one thing that you find at conventions. You find what demographic of people are coming to your game. And then after you find that out, you can then work out how you're going to talk to these people. So you've got to, when you're doing your TikToks or stuff like that, you if kids from 18 to 25 aren't coming to play your game, why would you compare your game to Fortnite or something that they heavily like? Because they're
Yeah.
not interested in your game. So you found out what people are interested in your game, and then you can keep engaging with those people. And then it becomes, people become like a community around your game, and they want to be interested in what your game's about. So it's kind of not just like, hey, like I've got a whole heap of people. You go on Twitter or whatever, and you go wishlist Wednesday, and you get like 5 people that come and wishlist your game, and then 2 weeks later you get 5 people that unwishlist your game because they didn't really care about your game. They were just wishlisting it to be nice to you, and that's almost less productive because I don't know how that works in the Steam algorithm, but you want people there that you also want people that are wishlist your game that genuinely like your game,
Yeah.
because then Steam also learns that, oh, the people that like your game also like, for example, might like The Witness or might like Lego games, and so then they go, well, people that like Lego games, you might like this game that's coming out because there's a lot of other people that have wishlisted this game, so they know where to put your game in the Steam store as well.
Hmm.
So
How to,
it's
yeah,
the right
categorize it.
people. Yeah, you got to get the right people interested. It's not just about the quantity. I mean, everyone wants a million wish lists. Don't get me wrong, but it's the right wish lists are good too.
Yeah, probably more important than the million wish lists. Because you
Yeah,
can have a million wish lists, but if those wish lists don't translate in buying the game when it gets released, then it's not worth it. So yeah,
yeah.
that's true actually. But how do you
Oh,
think?
well,
How do you
I
think
was.
you can get, let's say, um, a real fans of the game?
Um,
I know it's a difficult question, but mm, at some
real
point you
fans.
probably thought about that.
Well, what is a real fan? Like, what do you categorize as a real fan? Like someone
That
that
really
you
likes the
know.
game, someone that knows you because of your game. You know what I mean? Not because you were good at advertising your game, or because they know you in person, or because they making an interview to you. I'm just roughing here, but you understand what I mean.
Yeah. I like, this is again working out, like, when you go to the conventions and figuring out who likes your game. Those people, you start to see a very clear list of types of people that like your game. When you're at the conventions, you might say, what other games do you play? If someone really likes your game, what other games do you play? And then you can start to see what games your type of people are playing.
Okay.
For example, another thing is, someone goes, "Oh, I don't really like your game." I go, "Well, what games do you like?" And they go, "Oh, I love playing Call of Duty." And I'm like, "Oh, maybe this isn't that the kind of game that
Yeah, that's not
it's
for
not a
you.
first
Yeah.
person." Yeah, and so I'm not absolutely upset about it. But if someone says, "Oh, I like Animal Crossing and I hate your game, and then I'm like, oh, that's a bit of a red flag for me because I'm like, they kind of go similar together. They've
Yeah.
got some similar vibes. So getting this, so if you can get those people that, and you can understand who likes your game, then you start getting these super fans, and it's engaging with them as well. Like having, so when you understand who likes your game, then you've put some TikToks out or some Instagram reels and tell them about your game, tell them what's happening in game, give them more story about your game, show them who you are as a person.
Hmm.
It's weird, like 2025, and everyone wants to know who the developer is of the game. They don't necessarily, they want to know about you, the developer. Like, have you got a family? Have you got, like, imagine like in 1974 or something, whenever it was, when they were making Atari games, no one cared who the developer was.
Yeah.
They didn't care if they liked Cocoa Pops for breakfast or whatever. They liked, they care. That's a big part of it, having like a human side to yourself.
Yeah, which is also could be positive at some point, because
Yeah.
they get to be there's that kind of familiarity with the game, but also with the developer of the game. So
Yeah.
it's not only a negative point,
Oh no, it's
especially
it's
for
great.
indie game developers.
That's the selling point of indie game. I mean, no one knows who's making those big Fortnite games. That's just a team of 1,000 people. No one knows who's making World at Warcraft. We don't. No one knows that. But indie games, you go, oh, that guy loves, truly put his heart and soul into that game. I want to support him and that game. That's how people are. That's what draws people to indie games. That passion that indie developers have. Yeah, the the character's anxious, right?
Okay.
So one day my son, he's a really good drawer for his age. He can draw like all these kind of cool things, and it's amazing. And I asked him, how do you feel one day? And he says, and he drew this picture, and it was of Nim, and I he goes, I feel like I'm an alien. I feel like I'm alienated from everyone, because he was feeling anxious and feeling like that. And I'm like, that's a really interesting idea for a character. Um, and so we made Nim our main character, and that was he's not an alien, and he's not a he. He's not a she. He's whoever you. It's whatever you feel like. To me, it's a he, because that's how I perceive him, as a he. But
Yeah.
if you're a woman playing the game, you might perceive it as that. It's not, and it's not necessarily to be in the whole woke kind of fashion. It's more that
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
everyone gets anxiety, and this could be anybody playing the game, and that's what we wanted our main character to represent.
Hmm.
More that everybody gets anxiety. You just have to work out a different way of representing that in different people. So we decided it was an alien type of creature because you feel alienated. So it's a little bit of a play on words. Yeah. We try to make most of the things ourselves, but there are a couple of things that we did get from the asset store.
Hmm.
Um, Water, that stuff is impossible to make yourself. Like
I
I don't
agree.
have
I
time.
agree.
I don't have time to make water. You just go and buy a water asset and be done with it. And fog, like that was another one. Lighting, volumetric fog. That's a whole year worth of learning that I don't have time for. So I was just like, whatever. Um, but those two in particular come to mind as things that I just didn't need to learn all that. Someone had done it and it cost me like $10 or something.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
but
okay, you win.
did you take a did you download a plugin, an extra, or just did you just buy the asset as a component, as
I
an
just
asset?
I bought the assets and
Okay.
then, but then you use the code from that and then you alter it to suit your game. So we didn't just use the base prefabs that they had. We used their shaders and stuff and then changed that to suit our
Okay,
game.
to make it more for your game, yeah.
Yeah. It's it's a day of your life you won't get back. It's not okay. To be fair, before I started this project, I made a whole heap of mobile games, which was with Unity and going to Apple App Store, and I made some games that went to Android App Store and even Amazon, and they had a whole heap of similar things to what the Steam store has. So if you've ever made a Google game, it's the same. I think Google does it a bit better, but
Yeah,
when
I
you
would
get
agree
Google
on that.
ads, yeah, Google ads and Unity ads and all that type of stuff, they've got some more stuff you have to fill out, and it's about as hard as filling out the Apple Store one. If it's the similar kind of stuff, but once you've done one, they all seem to get easier and easier. But it's still a bit of mucking around. If it's the first
Hmm.
time you're doing it, it's going to be daunting and scary, and you're gonna be like, oh, what is all this stuff that I'm putting my name to? I don't like this at all.
But once you do
Um,
it, it's let's say
it's
it becomes
yeah,
easier or normal, let's
yeah,
say.
yeah. Well, if they choose, it depends if they want to 100% complete the game. Um, and then it also comes down to price point. I mean, if the game is $15 US, that's around the price point that we're thinking of doing the game.
Hmm.
Does the do you expect what do you expect for that much money? Do you expect 40 hours of gameplay? You know, like I feel like if you get to about 10 hours, you've got your money's worth of
Sure.
you know. So and it's a bit more challenging with a puzzle game to have those longer things. Also, I'm a little bit old school in that regard. Like I loved all the old games where you just used to go and finish the game, and then if you wanted to play it again, you could play it again, but you didn't have to. It didn't have to have all these extra bits of stuff.
So yeah, right.
Yeah,
So
I
you
don't
don't want
really.
to keep the user forever in the game. He has to stay in the game and play the game as much as he needs to. So
Yeah,
those six,
it's
seven
not.
hours.
It's not that I don't want to keep people playing the game. It just do games. I'll ask the question: do games always have to have extra content like replayability? Like, did you play through, I don't know, the Astrobot and then think I have to go and play it again, or did I play through Sackboy or the Lego games and I have to play it 7 more times? That you
Yeah.
just enjoyed it one time through, and that's what older school games I guess had, but they were done better as well. Like so many people concentrate on making replayability, but they don't make their original playthrough to be enjoyable
Yeah, that's
as
true.
much.
A lot of
Yeah.
games
So,
are going and on that way, actually becoming
mm,
like infinite games, trying to keep uh, people always in the game, so they don't have an ending. They never have an ending. Probably it's
Yeah,
because of money, because it's always because of money. So
yeah. But I'm just I'm here for the love, and I want like a game that is really fun for people to enjoy, and they play the game and they like, oh, I like this. I enjoyed it. I'm going to tell my friends about it because it was a great game. You know,
yeah,
not I'm going to play it for the 100th time. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Um, I actually got into it because I liked playing video games a lot. Like I always liked playing video games, and I thought I want to stay doing video games, but I don't want to be. I don't know if I necessarily want to be a 60-year-old guy sitting on the couch just playing video games.
hmm
Like, I thought, well, why don't I try and make a game? Uh, I think this is kind of where a lot of indie developers start
yeah.
with this idea. Like,
You want to be
uh, I
involved.
I want to be more involved with this. I love this so much. Let me be involved. And so it started around that kind of idea. And then, like I said, I made a few mobile games, which they're really, I think mobile games are a really good starting point for indie developers
Yeah, I
because
agree about that. Yeah,
you probably make no money. The games are normally really small. You normally give them away for free. If you can get people to play them for like 5 minutes, you've actually done really well because it's so hard to get people to play a free game. They're like,
yeah,
oh, there's about 5 billion free games out there. Why am I going to play your crappy free game? Like you've got to sell that to me better than that.
yeah.
So it's a nice place to start with games,
You
and
can
you
gain
get so much.
experience from that. Yeah,
Oh, 100%. And you get so much hate too, like which makes your armor really thick. Because a lot of people, you're not making a real game, you're making a mobile game. And it's like, yeah, but I like games. And they're like, yeah, but you're not as good as those game developers because you just, yeah. And I don't know. It makes you not worry about people's opinion so much, or not let people's opinion get to you, which I think is a very important skill for a game developer. You've got to do
so
it because you like it.
yeah, so keep going on,
Mm,
not hearing to stupid opinions. Yeah, that's true. And
yeah.
when did it start? About how
I've
many
been doing
years?
this, I reckon, about 10 years ago. It's been a
Okay,
long time.
yeah.
And I really haven't had great amounts of success. I'm growing with a little bit of success, but yeah, it,
What
you
was it
wouldn't say
always
I'm.
Unity or what was the first game engine?
Yeah, Unity. I chose Unity always from the start because Unity. So it was the idea of I was going to make mobile games to learn how to make games, and then I was going to make a game that I actually cared about, which is Lighthaze World. Um, but Unity, I thought it would be good to learn Unity because it's in C sharp, which is like probably the most common language. Without,
hmm
if you can go to C++ if you want to go to Unreal, but that's a lot harder, and I didn't know that. And the other thing that Unity does really good is it takes it to every single platform. Like you got to go and think 10 years ago, Unity didn't. Unity was one of the only game engines that used to go, "Hey, do you want to put it on mobile? Do you want to put it on this? Okay, that's cool. We'll just pump it out into every single platform." And now I think like if you go with Godot, it does that now, and it also runs C sharp. So I mean, but to me, Godot looks a little bit like Unity 4. It's a long way behind Unity, but it's catching up at really fast speed. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. I might swap over. That's the one that interests me a bit because you don't have to go and pay a whole heap of money to Godot or anything like
Yes.
that.
Which
I think you've spoken about most of them. The amount of platforms it goes to, the community, like if you need to find out any information about a Unity thing, you just Google it and it's there. There's probably 7 answers.
hmm
Um, so the community is massive. The and I like the physics in Unity. It's really quite
it's
if
great,
you
yeah.
yeah. So if you look at those kind of things, the thing that I would say sometimes, and I don't like this part of Unity. Let's go for the other side of that. I mean, there's so many good things about Unity, but sometimes I think Unity is trying too hard to copy blueprints from Unreal Engine and trying to
Yeah.
make all these little components so you just drop them into the game. And that's really good if you're making like a little mobile game, it's fine. But when you start making bigger
Big games,
games,
yeah.
you start having all these issues with all these little components not working optimized enough. And you're just like, oh, why did I use that? I should have just coded that bit in myself or
Yeah.
whatever. And that's probably the thing I don't like about Unity. But I feel like they've stopped that a little bit to, and just gone, well, if you can't be bothered, we'll learning code. We'll make a little bit of a thing that you can make a crappy
Yeah.
game with. But
I'm not so
like,
into it actually. Um
yeah,
I
I mean,
prefer having code, so having to code. So
I mean, if you make a game that is just 100% blueprint, how do you fix any bugs? How do you do anything? Like I
exactly,
know
yeah.
I know a guy that made a game, and it was the game was doing reasonable success, um, at like for wish lists and things like that, right? However, he made the game completely with Unreal blueprints. So then, as soon as he released the game, it got negative reviews because all the bugs were in the game and he couldn't fix them because he didn't know any code. He was only just linking up nodes, and all of a sudden, and the nodes were only limiting him of what he could do, so he couldn't fix any problems. It was just like, well, this is no good. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
Eh, what does he do? um, the biggest problem that we had with the game, well, biggest thing that we had to overcome was when we started making the game, we chose an art style that was we could make a couple of models with. So we originally wanted the game to look a little bit like Animal Crossing kind of vibe, but to make that, you have to hand paint each house, right?
Yeah.
So we started making the game and we started putting all the assets in, and then we realized we had to hand paint each house, which was going to take us like 6 decades to do.
Yeah. Wow.
And we're like, how do we we couldn't even achieve that. Like, and then we started using Unity terrain to make the terrain for the game, which was a whole nother problem for the game because um, it was actually harder to. It was easy for Unity to go, oh, we don't recognize this, or we didn't update, and then the Unity terrain all mucked up, and you had to go and repaint the trees and repaint this, and it was a whole, like, it was easy to make a Unity terrain map, but to keep that, if you did an update, sometimes it would change the terrain look or whatever. So we ended up making all the maps or all the worlds. We just made them in Blender, and that was easier than using Unity terrain. So looking for that style was really complicated. Well, not complicated. When you make, like I said, you make a small little scene and you can do it really quickly for one house or one little garden, but
Yeah.
then you start scaling and you go, oh, this is impossible. That was probably our challenge. I don't think the coding wise, it wasn't too bad. We didn't have too many dramas, but definitely that style that we had to find our style, and it took way too long. We spent a year trying to create a style that we couldn't achieve. I think there's a couple of ways for motivation. Number one, if you working with like just one or two other people is motivating in so many ways, because if I go and do some coding and then I show it to my art guy that's doing some art, he'll go, "Oh, that's really cool. Oh, that gives me an idea. I'm going to go and change the way that tower looks because you've made the tower fall over with your code." And then I see something that he does, and then it motivates me to go and do some more coding, because you kind of, it's like a competitiveness amongst yourselves, like a good competitiveness. Another part of, if you're a solo dev, you can still achieve this by joining little community groups like Discord communities or stuff like that, where people are often showing what they have achieved for the week. And then you try to beat, like not necessarily beat them, but be in that conversation. If you get to the end of the week and you've got nothing to show your community, then you've let yourself down. So you've got to go, well, next week I'm going to show them this screenshot or something. So you work towards that. For me, the motivation comes from kind of talking to other people, and then showing. So also TikTok and Instagram, and that I'll showing a video every couple of days about what you've been doing. If you've got nothing to show, it's because you've done no work. So you've got to go, well, I've got to do some work so I can show some stuff. And that's they're ways that I motivate myself in this kind of way, is by like trying to achieve something, to do something. So when you sit down, you're going, that's what I have to achieve. I want to show this video, or I want to show this screenshot, but the only way I can do that is by doing the work to show that. So it's all about like show and tell kind of thing. A little bit like when you're at school as a kid and you come in and, hey, I went to the beach on the weekend and here's my seashell. But if you never went to the beach on the weekend, you never had a seashell to show everyone,
Yeah.
So that kind of way of motivating yourself. Another way to do it, I don't just do coding. I do a lot of game design as well. So I can swap my roles for today. So today I might have some things that I want to code and I can't be bothered doing that. So I'll go, how about I just go and put a whole heap of trees in this level that I haven't finished putting all the stuff into that scene. I'll go and do that. Or I can't be bothered doing that, so I'll go and do some coding. Swapping your jobs around.
Yeah, you try to swap. So yeah,
Yeah, that's another helpful way of staying motivated.
it's kind of
Um,
making so small projects all together.
yeah. Yeah, making everything smaller. It all comes down to making everything smaller. When everything's big, it's so overwhelming. When everything's small, it's achievable. So and
Right.
the other part, if you show people this stuff on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and then you get like some comments back going, "Oh, this looks amazing." Guess what that does for your motivation? You go, "Well,
Yeah,
next week I want to
that's true.
show something else, you know? I want to show them another part of the game." Oh, bit. So
Yeah.
you can show them that, you know? That's how I stay motivated anyway. Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
time as well. So
Thank you.
I appreciate people. Not enough people do stuff like this. So like it's very good of you.
Yeah, I would like to keep on doing that because that was one thing that I always thought when I started making games. I would like someone to make me questions about my experience, about how it is to make a game. Someone that listens to me when I speak and explain to them why I did this kind of game, why I made this kind of game. It's not that I am someone that brings you a lot of people. No, it's just you have someone to speak with which you can speak. So